Welcome to another episode of the Fanzone Podcast, your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Fanzone Podcast. Tonight is the preview show, of course, ahead of this Saturday's game against Peterborough United. Tonight, of course, as you can see, I'm steering the ship on my own, but I do have a Peterborough guest with me, Del from UpThePoshcast. Del, how are you this evening?
Very good, thanks, mate. Not bad at all. Looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Really, really good to have you on. And this is your Fanzone Podcast debut, Del, I think, isn't it? Is that right?
It is first time I've been at Bolton, mate. Not been at Bolton. First time I've been on your show, so may not be the last.
Hopefully you can stay in League One and we can get promoted, and then it can be the last time, with all due respect, of course. Lovely to have all the usuals and some not so usual guests or people in the chat tonight. Of course, we've got your friends up the Poshcast have joined, so good evening to whoever is sending that message in from the podcast. Good to have you here, Ian. Good evening to you, Jordan. Of course, my mother has said hello this evening, so good evening, Mum. We've also got Leslie, Dave Nash, Brandon, everybody else in between. Thank you very, very much for your time on this Thursday evening. So, as you can see, I am still steering the ship on my own, but I do have a little bit of a structure to the old episode tonight, so hopefully you'll enjoy that. Please do keep your comments coming in the chat, and of course, I'll pick out the best ones and bring them to view. Me and Del have got plenty of things to be discussing, no more so than our season so far, which I think Del is going to probably use this as a little bit of a detox to get a few feelings off his chest, I would suspect, because it's not going very well for Peterborough thus far. So that's touched upon. As touched upon, of course, Peterborough are sitting right at the sorry end of Sky Bet League One, sat in 24th place, just 2 wins from the last 5 games. Del, do you want to use this as a soundboard? Do you want to get some frustrations off your chest? And do you want to maybe tell the Bolton fans listening what the hell is going on at the Posh?
Well, let's just say, right, we are in a false position. We shouldn't be bottom. We should be second or third. Actually, I'm talking rubbish. We deserve to be down at bottom because we haven't been very good. It's just been depressing. The style of football hasn't been great. The players just don't seem to be playing with each other. It's just been, I don't even know. We're not even angry anymore, if that makes sense. We're not angry. We're just disappointed with how it's performing, how it's going. We've got 30 odd players on the books. It ain't working. We signed a load towards the end of transfer deadline day and pretty much churn everything around that we was doing through pre-season and the first few games of the season. And we sort of had a win or 2 wins and a draw. We thought, we might turn a corner here, but we didn't. We then lost 3-0 at home at Lincoln. Not great. You never lose at home. And Lincoln are a bit of a derby for some of us older fans of Peterborough United. So it is depressing. The league trophy that we've won twice, as you know, back to back. No other team's done that. First game, we lost 3-0, I believe, 3-1 at home. It was at Leyton Orient. And we went 2-0 down the other night to Aston Villa under 21s, which is more like Aston Villa under 18s because they were playing proper youth. And we're losing to these. And come on. Granted, we turned it around second half and we won 4-2, but it's depressing times. It really is. And I'm not joking when I say we're not in a false position. We are where we deserve to be on our performances, and something has got to change very quickly because we are in a relegation situation. I know we're only 9-10 games into the season, but we can't really see much that's going to change to get us out of that situation. I think the only good thing is there's a few other teams that are as bad as us, so we'll see.
From the outside looking in, and historically speaking, your recruitment strategy has been pretty much on point. What you mentioned then, you've signed a lot of players towards the latter end of the transfer window. Is that because you're sticking to that traditional transfer strategy, or is it more of a case of you're not kind of going down that route anymore and you kind of maybe getting a few scraps from other teams, i.e., unfortunately for you guys, Clyde Lawes?
No, I think what you'll find with McAntony, our chairman, is quite stubborn in what he does. Not criticising him, that's the way he wants to go, that's fine. We're still trying to go down find the gem in the lower leagues, but we've been trying to find too many gems and trying to blend them all together, and it just isn't working. You can normally bring the odd one or two youngster in an established team, but we've been trying to build a whole team, and it's just not worked. So you see, last season we finished 18th. We was lucky. It was lucky that we've never. Sorry, I just read a message from Ash, and he just put me right off. Last season was lucky we didn't get relegated because again it was a relegation battle with a really young team. We didn't really learn a lesson too much in a pre-season. We signed some more youngsters, etc. Didn't quite work, but we have signed the odd experienced head now. We've got Tom Lees who was a free agent that used to be at Huddersfield. We got Kioso back, who we had on loan a couple of years back when we got to the playoffs in Peter Kioso, who I believe was with you guys for a while.
We had a fan favourite, actually. Yeah.
Well, he's a Peterborough fan favourite as well, to be fair, but I don't think he's actually all that great as a defender. Going forward, that's what you need. When we play a five at the back, I think is that sort of the right wing back, and he, creates and is a fan favourite because of the way he interacts with the fans and the passion and the fist pumping and whatever. I think that's one of the reasons why we did actually bring him back, to try and appease us fans, if I'm honest. But he's been made captain already, so fair play. We brought Mendy in from Wrexham, a little bit older than the 21 sort of player, 21 age we buy or sign, and we got Hughes from Stockport, who we had on loan till the end of the season. So we've got a few more experienced players in. Not massively experienced, but a bit more than normal. So
I listened sorry to interrupt you. I listened to Ferguson earlier on today in his kind of pre-match press conference, and he was kind of, I wouldn't say blaming, but pointing towards the fact that a lot of your players were kind of signed towards the end of the transfer window, and you kind of having a pre-season now. Is that how you see it as a fan?
That's a fair point, but the point of that is why have we had to redo it again at the end of the transfer window? Because before the end of last season, he was saying he wanted a slimline squad. He wanted this, he wanted that, didn't want too many players. And we brought a few players in, as I said, a few went. But then obviously through pre-season and early part of the season, it just wasn't working. Whether it was a panic and we went and bought or purchased and loaned a load more new players towards the end of the transfer window to try and turn it around, is what we have done, to be fair. But so whose fault is it? Whose fault is it that we're now trying to do a pre-season again because we only signed these players at the end of the season, end of the transfer window? We should have got them sooner.
That's interesting, because what he also said, to kind of caveat what he was saying, was, or actually it wasn't him who said it, it was the interviewer. He was saying, I think it was BBC radio reporter from your neck of the woods. He was saying dealing with the big clubs in this division financially isn't possible for Peterborough. So he was kind of suggesting that the reason why you weren't getting stuff done before the end of the window was because you were kind of having to compete with the bigger clubs in this division. Would that be fair as well, or not?
No, not for me, if I'm honest. No. And the reason I say that is because we signed a load of players at the early part of the transfer window.
Yeah.
So, and some of the ones that we've put on a transfer list now was on the retained list at the end of the season. Clearly, we have gone wrong in what we wanted to have our squad as. We've now realised, well, actually, I don't want these anymore. You got Chris Clark, de Havilland, a couple of goalkeepers, and they're on a transfer list, but they wasn't to start off with. Something that's come through.
So it's a mess, isn't it?
It is a mess, and if I'm honest, a lot of it is coming across as excuses. And I think, if I'm honest, the excuse is that we got it wrong. Simple as that. We got our recruitment wrong, and we done our retain list wrong. Why would we go and get 33 players now on our squad? We don't. When at the end of the year last year, at the end of the season, it was going to be, I want a streamlined squad. We have clearly got it wrong, and now we're trying to backtrack to make it right, which we have to do, because if we tried doing that, we would definitely be relegated. Simple as that. I don't want to sound over the top or anything, but that is how bad it is. And even with the players we've got now, we really need to get something working, get the so-called pre-season working now, but we haven't got time for that. We just got to be performing now, or even getting the results, or showing willing that we're trying to play football, or the players give players care, because a lot of that has not really come through, if I'm honest.
I have noticed there's a couple of different faces and people in the chat, and I think from what I can see, in the most part, they are Peterborough United fans, and hopefully one or two do listen back to this as well. So I'll just give you guys a bit of a brief, I suppose, on where we're at so far this season. Obviously, we're sitting 11th. From a transfer strategy perspective, certainly on paper, we are the complete opposite to you guys, and we are very, very happy in the most part of our signings and acquisitions for the summer just gone. We look completely different, if I'm honest, to what you guys might be kind of used to and familiar with. We now play a back four, and we've kind of got rid of that kind of Ian Everett building out from the back, 3 centre halves and 2 full back wing backs and 5 at the back type of approach. We now play a 4 with 2 holding, effectively a 3 and a 1 in the most part. Occasionally we kind of change that up and play 2 or 1 just behind. We've got a lot of options, is what I'm trying to say, guys, and we do feel that we are clicking. A little bit of a blip in the road last week against Northampton. Went down 2-0, unfortunately, to Kevin Nolan's Northampton team, which, as you can imagine, didn't go down very well with our fan base. But in the most part, given the fact I think we signed around 13 players, people in the chat, please do correct me if I'm wrong with that, but there and thereabouts, we're pretty comfortable with the season so far. It's not great, but we can kind of see that we're a better side than we were last season, and I think as long as the season goes on, we'll strengthen, and we'll get better and better and better. 14 players, David said, that we signed. So, yeah, it's quite a lot of players to gel. And I think we're getting there slowly but surely. Apparently, Ashley's saying that we, being Peterborough, haven't won against us in 9 visits. Is that correct, Del?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. I'm looking here now, and I'm like, I was hoping nobody would bring it up. But obviously, Ash is part of UpThePoshcast, is part of our team. So, obviously, he knows his stats. And that is true. I'm looking at it now. It's just depressing. Let's move on from that one.
Yeah, let's move on. And let's move on to the stat man. Now, I was telling Del before we went live, the stat man isn't a Bolton fan. He's certainly not a Peterborough fan. He's a bit of a neutral to all of this. And what he does tend to do, guys and girls listening who aren't familiar with this show, is give us a bit of an understanding of what we can expect from the opposition. So he's going to get the stat on, as we like to call it, and gives an insight into Peterborough. So after that, we can have a little bit of a chat and see whether he's right or whether he's wrong with what he's saying, because I'm sure Del will have an opinion on that, no doubt.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Get Stats On with the Stat Man. Of course, today we are previewing Peterborough United. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like absolutely ages since you last played a game. Probably is just me losing me noggin. But anyway, as I say on almost every preview, this is a must-win game, especially after the last one. Let's not dwell on it, shall we? But yeah, wasn't the best performance, was it? But we're not here to talk about that. We're talking about Peterborough. So, they are dead last with 7 points and just 2 wins from 10 games. However, those 2 wins have come in the last 3 games against Plymouth and against Wycombe. Now, we'll come on to that in a little second, but they're getting better. So, you've got to put them in a place, to be honest. You've got to win. Now, Kean Hayes, who scored 2 goals this season, will be out injured with a knee injury. He's likely to be out for some months, but that shouldn't affect them too much, to be completely honest. In their formation, then, they play a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2, depending on the state of the game. It's just how attacking the wing-backs decide to play, basically. But, to be fair, it is quite fluid, especially the front line. And the midfielders roam about the pitch quite often as well. So, yeah, I wouldn't dwell too much on their formation, to be completely honest. Although, we are going to take a look at it in a second. Interestingly, or at least I think it's interesting, maybe you don't, they've had more possession than the opponent on average this season. They average about 51-52% possession of the ball. And that plays into your hands, to be honest. Whether they play that way against you and decide to keep hold of the ball is an entirely different question. However, if they do, I think you're going to win. If they don't, it's an entirely different question, is it not? But still, yeah. And, just to make it even more interesting, against Plymouth, they sat off, let Plymouth have the ball, and they won 1-0. And it was a very similar strategy for their 2-1 win against Wycombe Wanderers the week prior. So, yeah. I'd say they're probably going to go counter-attacking, and you're probably going to be frustrated with the end result again. But their main danger man, or I would say their main danger man, is Jimmy J. Morgan. He has scored 3 goals in 4 starts this season, on loan from Southampton, and their top scorer so far. He's become a bit of a fox in the box, because all of his goals come from that sort of 12-yard region, if you will. He is definitely their biggest goal threat. Right now, at least, anyway. As for their in-possession stuff, they don't really like to play it long. They much prefer to keep it on the deck, pass it round you. That is sort of the same even when they're playing counter-attacking, but obviously not to the same extent. Defensively, they've conceded the 4th most expected goals in the league and conceded the 1st most goals in the league, because you've got to pair those stats together, haven't you? Yeah, in other words, they're just not very good at defending. So, pretty much, if you can play how you can, you're going to do them. Now, are you going to? Probably not. But let's go to the tactics board. Right. You may notice there's no players on here. And that's because the board got deleted. I know. What is the stat man playing at? But basically, yeah, I don't know who's going to play anyway, do I? So, we're going with this for now. This is your setup. Right, 4-2-3-1. I think we can agree that has been your formation for the most part. You do get the odd situation where in the attack it looks a bit like this. But for the most part, it is a 4-2-3-1. Now, I've drawn a box. No, but seriously. For me, Schumacher has 2 options, right? He can either do something a bit radical like this. Okay. Which would be, I'm still playing Burstow, just to clear it up. This man here would be Burstow. And what you have done is formed a box midfield. And you may notice, that is an awfully drawn box, by the way. But you may notice, they do not have 4 players in midfield, do they? They have 3. So, if they try to mark everybody, then they would leave a little bit of a situation like this. Oh, I've drawn another box! I'm having a mare. Anyway. You relieve a situation like this with a spare man. So the centre-back could step on to the spare man, but that just leaves a load of space in their defensive line for the winger to make the run inside like this. So it's an interesting one. Now he might not do that because that is quite. You've never really done it before, so I'm not expecting that, to be honest. I'm expecting more of your 4-2-3-1 normally, with Randall or whoever's playing there drifting to the left side and probably Morley drifting up there. And I don't want to see that, to be honest. I like the front five, but they will outnumber you if you do the front five, as they're playing a back five, so they can go man for man with two spare midfielders. Right? Not going to work. So I'm playing the box, right? Is the box going to happen? No. But you should do it. Because, yeah, it doesn't take a great mathematician to work out that 3 is less than 4, does it? And, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I reckon that's how you win the game easily, especially if you want to dominate the ball. But that's probably not going to happen, is it? So I'm going to leave it there for today's Statman segment. I thought I'd give you a little bit of insight to what I do, because why not? Just why not, hey? But, yeah, anyway, enjoy the rest of the show, and I'll see you for the review on Sunday evening, of course. Goodbye.
Bit of a deep dive into the potential ways in which we can beat Peterborough United on Saturday. Del, you've got your pen in your hands. You're doing a bit of a nodding. Have you made any notes on the back of that? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I made a few notes. He said our front line was our strong point. Maybe last year or the year before. The problem with our front line is the ball don't get to our front line, so they can't really do a great deal about it. The front line you've got, as he's alluded to, is JJ Morgan. Did he say we got him on loan from Southampton?
I think he might have done, yeah, if I were listening.
I think
right,
he did.
yeah.
Well, it's actually Chelsea. He started at Southampton. We got him on loan from Chelsea. Okay. He is definitely, stat man, he needs to pay attention. He definitely is class above. You can see that he's been coached well, very well. He can read the game very well. I know it's only League One, but yeah, he's a decent player. And if they get the ball to him, and he can do some damage. So, yeah, I'll go with that. JJ Morgan's probably one of our highlights. Possession don't really mean anything, does it, to be fair, unless you score the goals. I think it might have been Lincoln where our possession was so poor, which is unusual because, as you say, we normally do have a quite high possession. But, we just got to get the ball and score a goal. I don't care if we've only got 3% possession, but we score 3 goals, that'll do, won't it? So, yeah, I'm not worried about the possession. We can't hold on to it. They're hot potato. And, yeah, that's all I'll go to. That's all I'll pick up on. But most of it is right. We've been playing a 5-3-2 or a 3-5 or whatever you call it. From now, as I alluded to earlier, we actually started the season with a 4-3, whatever it was, before at the back. It wasn't working, hence why we had to get new players in to change the system. So the players that we brought in to play a certain system and our surplus to requirements already because we changed the formation. It wasn't working.
I'm really perplexed with what's going on or what's gone on with Peterborough this summer, because the way I see it is Darren McAntony and Ferguson are obviously very experienced football people, and I don't see how you can get these things so wrong and don't seem to have the right options, and your transfer strategy seems to be all over the place, and you seem to be swapping and changing formations, and like you just said, it seems like a bit of a mess. I just can't figure out why that would be the case with such experienced football people at the helm.
Neither do I, to be fair, but as you say, it's the same process that we've been doing for years, and it was successful. But the problem is now most teams are doing the same. Most teams are buying the gems and blending them. So right. What was good for us many years, and it has been very, very successful for us. Everybody else is copying, and we've not really adapted as such. Do you know what I mean? We sell a few players here and there. Obviously, Ricky J. Jones, who was pretty quick for us. I wasn't a massive fan of him. He's gone to play in Germany, whatever you call it, Bundesliga. Kwame Poku, who obviously has gone to QPR. Season before we had Mason Clark, front line, gone to Cholton, Coventry. We've had some decent players, and we've let them go. Well, not let them go. They've had to move on because they're good enough to move on, but we've not really replaced them with the quality that we used to replace quality with. When we had Ivan Toney, we replaced him with quality, but no disrespect to the players we've got, we haven't really replaced with that same quality as such. Or the other problem is I'll give you an example with Lisby. We brought Lisby in from Colchester. He was one for the future. He's been sort of in the squad more than perhaps he should be, because he's still trying to develop. Granted, he scored a hat-trick the other day against Aston Villa under 21s, but it seems that some of the gems we've brought in, we're expecting miracles from to start off with, and it hasn't really materialised. We've got some great. I've already mentioned Chris Clark, for example. He was the hottest property in Altrincham. Was it Altrincham we signed him from, or non-league? Not really worked out for him, and now we've decided he's not even getting anywhere near the squad. He's just playing the under 21 games, and that's it. But why have we given up on some of these players so quickly?
Do you think a lot of it stems from the fact that football fans these days, you might say, a little bit more impatient than they maybe used to be?
Do you know what?
Sure,
I think Peterborough fans, majority, are actually quite patient, believe it or not. Obviously, I know a fair amount. You've got some that are like, Fergie, this is rubbish or whatever. I'm best not to swear there. But and there's quite a lot of us that have, come on, we want it to succeed. We want these players to come through. We want Fergie to turn it around, and we try. But how much patience do you need? As I said, we're like nearly a quarter of the way through the season and we're bottom of the league. But we have got some very, very good players that are just not performing for us. And, I'll guarantee when they go on to other clubs, they will start performing again for whatever reason. It's just the way it goes. Some players are suited for certain clubs.
Yeah, fair enough. Whilst we're talking about players, we might as well have a little bit of a think about the injury situation for both clubs. We're looking all right, and let's see how Dell's Peterborough getting on. Yeah, so injury update. Peterborough, obviously, last managed to get through against Aston Villa unscathed, I think, from what I saw from or listened to Ferguson saying earlier on today. Is that the case? How are you looking from an injury perspective, Del?
Well, as your stat man already has said, Kieran Hayes is now out for a few months with an injury that he picked up in training. To be fair to Kieran, he's not really been a starter, but he's been coming on and he has been changing games, to be fair. I've got to be honest, Kieran is one of the players that I really genuinely want to see him succeed. He's just got the right attitude and various things. He got injured, to be fair, towards the tail end of last season, and the work that he put in to get himself fit, ready for pre-season was second to none. And kudos to him for doing that. And then, unfortunately, he's got this other injury. So he's out for a bit. We had Bassat, who we just signed. He got injured at the start of the season. It didn't help. He's starting to come back. I'm not sure he's as great as we was hoping he would be. Don't get me wrong. He's done some great saves here and there. So he's come back. My, obviously, colleagues have helped me. We got Frith, who we signed as a winger. He's sort of out injured. I'm not sure how long he's out injured for. Hughes, again, who we had on loan tail end of the season from Stockport. We actually signed him. He's been out all season. Not sure how long. I think it's only a few weeks before he comes back. But who does he replace? We don't know. Left wing back, Adebisi. I believe I said his name right. We've had him for like over a year and a half now. We signed him last transfer end of season, and he's been injured ever since. Never seen him. I don't think I've ever seen him put a kit on.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
But it's the way it goes. You get your injuries. Every team's got them. But we can't really use injuries as a reason why we are where we are when we got as many players as what we got, if I'm honest.
Yeah, fair enough. Injuries, you are right. Every team's got them, and we do have a few. Long-term ones, obviously, we've got Victor Adebayo, Will Forrester are the kind of long-term injuries. Carl Dempsey also could fall into that category. He's back playing, but the drip feeding him back into the kind of the fold, so to speak. There was a little bit of a hiccup on Saturday with Josh Deckers-Cogley. Yet to hear, unless anybody in the chat can tell me the latest on him. But apparently it's just a little knock. It should be okay for the Peterborough game. So we're looking pretty good, to be honest with you. Del, we've not really got many, if any, injuries to kind of what we would consider key players. Pretty much full strength squad to choose from, and it's a squad that with great depth. If I'm honest with you, which is part of the frustration from our fans' perspective as to why we're not kind of in that top two conversation just yet. But we are relatively confident that we'll be fighting amongst the kind of top six minimum by the end of the season. So, yeah, as far as injuries are concerned, we're looking all right, unless anybody can correct me if I'm wrong. But, yeah, can't complain. So, and I am at my dining table doing the podcast this evening, as I usually am, due to my little boy going to bed at 7:30. And this is a wooden table, is what I'm telling you that for. And I am touching the wooden table to ensure that we carry on with as minimal injuries as possible throughout the season, because I think that's what you do need to be successful in a season. A little bit of luck when it comes to injuries to key players. So fingers crossed. Let's go on the next segment, which is player swap. So this is where, in case any Peterborough fans are wondering, you can tell us what Bolton player that you'd like in your team, and we'll tell you what Peterborough player we'd like in ours. I think you might like the one I'm going to choose. Yeah, I'll get straight into it. Peter Kioso is a player that I would like to have back at Bolton Wanderers, not necessarily for his defensive capabilities, because I don't think he was too good defensively, which me and Del spoke about earlier, but certainly offensively, he's pretty good, and I think he'd certainly flourish in our team. Maybe not necessarily as a right back, but as a right wing back option if we had that as a possibility. Our right back options aren't our strongest. Josh Deckers-Cogley and Cyrus Christie. Cyrus Christie we signed on a free. A plethora of experience at the Championship and Premier League level, but he's a little bit behind schedule. However, if Cogley is injured at the weekends, we might see him play, which wouldn't necessarily surprise me because he does need some minutes. But yeah, right back is a bit of an area of weakness, you might say, for us, for a lot of Bolton fans. So yeah, that'd be my choice. So Peter Kioso, if you wouldn't mind. Del, over to you.
Okay, just before I go on, I know we spoke about Peter Kioso. Totally agree with you about his defensive qualities. Not as good as a lot of people make out. And I believe he was one of the players that we signed as a keeping the fans happy, because he is a fan's favourite without a shadow of a doubt. So we'll keep hold of him for the time being, though. So I don't really know many of your players. In fact, I don't know many other players apart from Peterborough United players. So I've had to go into the group chat and ask for some help here. A couple of names have come up. The first one that's come up is Burstow. Probably for his, help us score a few goals. I think he scored 5. In fact, I've done my own research on that. He has scored 5 goals this season.
He has. He certainly should have had 6 on Saturday because he missed an absolute sitter. So he should really be the top of the tree in terms of goals.
But anyway, he's got 5. Facts. So him. And another name that's come up, which good shout actually, is Stephen Schumacher. I know he's not a player, but we may need a change. And if we do need a change, why not the manager? So, Yeah, I'm not. Mate, honestly, I get ribbed all the time because I haven't got a clue about other teams' players. So, Burstow was a name that come through for his goals, and potentially the manager. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, great choice, Burstow. He's you'll quickly notice on Saturday that he's a bit of a focal point for us. Like you say, he scored 5 goals. Came through at Charlton. Chelsea signed him from Charlton, and then they loaned him out to Sunderland and then sold him to Hull. We've got him on loan from Hull in the Champ, and I think that if we were to get promoted, I wouldn't be surprised if we went in for him on a permanent, because I think he's got lots of attributes that you can't really go wrong as far as a centre forward is concerned, especially these days, because he's a focal point in terms of that, kind of gives you the option to kind of go along into the channels, but he's got the ability to kind of drop in and kind of link play as well, which is all the more impressive, really. So yeah, really good choice in that respect. Last but not least, it's prediction time. So please do get your predictions in the chat, and we'll have a little think about how we think the game on Saturday is going to go. Yes, go. First this evening, Del, I know you don't really know too much about players, but can you give us a bit of a prediction for Saturday, please?
That's a bit harsh, mate. I know about our own players. I just can't say the names properly. You know, Max has given me a bit of our time there. He was also another member of UpThePoshcast, so you'll want to lift one day.
They're all giving you a bit of moral support tonight, aren't they?
Well, mate, you know, all a team, all a good team. I only ever do 2 predictions. We either win or we draw. I can't do a defeat. And if we're going to win, it will be 4-2. And if we're going to draw, it will be 2-2. So I don't think we're going to win. I'm going for 2-2.
Bit of a Desmond's.
Can't beat a Desmond, can you?
Especially away from home. Your colleague, if I'd like to call him a colleague, Ashley, has predicted an 8-0 Bolton win. What would be, I'm presuming not that, of course, but what would be considered a good result on Saturday for you guys?
What would be a draw? You know, we need to get at least a draw. You know, Fergie's on borrowed time, rightly or wrongly. I'm not a Fergie and I'm not a Fergie out, if I'm honest. But as I said earlier, something has got to change, and we need to be picking up points now. I know people say, yeah, it's Bolton, they're a big team. If you look at the league, you know, you've got your little teams up there. You've got your Stevenage, you've got your Lincolns, you've got whatever up there. You've got your Bradfords up there. We've got to be beating whoever comes in front of us. And respect to Bolton, we've got to be trying to beat you. As Ashley always said, we've never won the Reebok, the Macron, or the Tough Sheet Stadium, whatever you call it nowadays. That is a great name of a stadium, by the way.
It's often tough sheet. It's often tough sheet for a lot of the teams that come here as well, which is rather ironic.
It is for us. But yeah, no, we need to win. But personally, I think a draw will be enough to keep him in a job for another week, and a valuable point for us. But we've got to go for the win.
Yeah, well, just to give you a little bit of comfort, we've played Reading and Lincoln this season at home, and we drew both of them 1-1. So you do have a little bit of comfort in the knowledge that you might get something from the game on Saturday.
I'll take that.
And if it was to be a draw on Saturday, from a Bolton fan's perspective, there would be an absolute meltdown. So therefore, meaning, of course, the expectation is for us to, like you've just said, go out and beat everybody we play, and we need to win comfortably on Saturday. If I'm honest with you, Del, I do think it'll be a difficult game in a way, because I do think that you guys will try and come and frustrate us, and use them kind of tactics to break up the game a little bit and try and use the crowd to your advantage, believe it or not, and get us on the back of the players. But I do think we've got enough quality this season to see them type of situations through, especially at home. So I'm going to go for a 3-1. I do give you a goal. I don't know why, but I do give you a goal.
Could I just pick up on a point in the chat there? if that's all right. Got
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Was it David Jones? Why should Fergie lose his job on Dara's selling? Totally agree. Totally agree with you. Why should he? But why should any manager lose their job over the chairman's or the owners buying and selling? I don't actually think Fergie will get sacked. I genuinely don't think he'll get sacked. I think Fergie will more likely walk than get sacked.
Yeah.
He's a man of pride and whatever, and it just ain't working. So it's a fair point, but it happens in most clubs, doesn't it? To be fair,
certainly does. It's been an absolute pleasure, Del, and thank you very much for taking the time at your evening to give us a bit of an insight into Peterborough's season so far. Hopefully, we will see you again, but of course, in a cup game, maybe. Who knows? Or
well, you never know.
Of course, later on this season, if you decide to come back on.
Well, I might pop into in the fan zone, but the fan zone is only for home fans, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But if you build strong relationships with opposition podcasts, then you might have half a chance.
That's fair. I was in there last year, actually, and it's a very, very good fan zone, really good fan zone. But I just want to end, if that's all right. Thanks for having us on. But I try to be quite, nice about Bolton, etc. So hopefully you boys and your followers can help us out. So us at UpThePoshcast have been nominated for a award at the Football Content Awards. So we've been invited up. We're in the top 10 or 12, whatever, in the award category of Best Club Content Creator Football League. So if you would like to go on to our Twitter page, UpThePoshcast, or X, UpThePoshcast, see our pinned tweet, follow the link from there, vote for us, be muchly appreciated. Because at the end of the day, we are little Peterborough. We are a small fish in a big pond. So we need a little bit of help from you big boys at Bolton Wanderers, because you are big boys, as we were talking about your players earlier, Campo and whatnot, to help us out. It would be appreciated. And, look forward to bumping into you on Saturday in the fan zone if we're allowed in. Yeah,
we'll certainly see what we can do for you. Absolutely, yeah. So what I'll do on that front, Del, is I'll jump onto the fan zone Twitter account after this, and I'll give it a repost, the pinned tweet, and yeah, hopefully Wanderers fans, if you wouldn't mind doing that for Del and the team at UpThePoshcast, that'd be greatly appreciated. And who knows, one day we might get an opportunity to get a few votes from the Peterborough side if we ever get nominated for anything like that. But yeah, congratulations on that, and hopefully it goes well. Good luck for the rest of the season, Del.
We need it.
So you keep telling us. With the exception, of course, on Saturday, and of course when we play you at your home stadium. But yeah, wonderful. Thank you very much for your time, everybody, this evening. It's been a pleasure hosting, and have a lovely rest of the week, and see you on Saturday. Up the Whites.
UpThePoshcast.